I found this little side table at a thrift store and knew it had potential. First, I measured where the legs ended and marked my cut line with a pencil. Then I set the depth on my circular saw and carefully cut the table in half. After that, I gave it a good wash and painted it with a creamy chalk paint that instantly brightened it up. For a bit of flair, I grabbed some pretty napkins from my craft stash and decoupaged them onto the top using Mod Podge and a paintbrush. Once everything was dry, I hung it next to my recliner in the basement and added a few decor pieces. I love how this simple and affordable project turned out. It adds both charm and function to a space where a full-size table just would not have fit.
I found a filing cabinet on the side of the road for free. I tried to figure out what I should do with it, and with a little help from Hometalk, we decided on upcycling it into a desk. The first thing I did was clean off the filing cabinet. I washed it down to remove all the dirt, oil, debris, and dust. Next, I removed all the hardware. We bought 2 stair balusters to support the opposite side of the desk. We started by measuring them against the filing cabinet. After marking them, we cut them with our saw. We decided where we wanted the plywood to go on top of the desk. We measured where the screws needed to go to attach to the stair baluster. Ours were approximately 3 inches from the corners. My husband pre-drilled the holes in the board, and he made an X on the balusters and then pre-drilled the center hole. He lined up the balusters under the wood, and he used the drill to place the screw through the board and into the baluster to secure the legs into place. We used some putty to cover the screws on the top. We smoothed it out and let it dry overnight. I used my sander to sand down the putty to make it level, and I sanded all the sides and the edges. After the sanding was done, I wiped down the board with a damp cloth to clean it before painting. I painted the filing cabinet with Dixie Belle Slick Stick. This allows the paint to adhere to metal. I painted the board with Dixie Belle Driftwood paint and let everything dry overnight. I wanted more of a driftwood look, so I first put on Dixie Belle whitewash glaze and I let it dry. And I next added the Dixie Belle Van Dyke brown glaze. To achieve this look, you start by dry brushing on the white glaze and then wiping with a paper towel as you go. After that dries, you do the same with the brown glaze. I painted the filing cabinet with Dixie Belle blue paint. With the hardware that was removed from the filing cabinet, I painted it with a Dixie Belle metallic silver base and top coat. Here is the completed desk. The great thing about this desk is that you can make it right-handed or you can make it left-handed. I'm loving my new DIY table.
I've got an old card table and it is in rough shape. What we're going to do is get rid of all the paper and everything on the front and get rid of that finish. We want to get down to the bare wood. Next, I'm going to go to pallets. Yes, we are going to get some pallet wood, but watch what we do. We're going to cut it down the strips and then we're going to pull them out. It's easier to do it that way, and all we got to do is take off the nails. Just pound the nails on the backside. Once you get them all the way over, just go ahead and take your claw hammer and pull it on out. You can get rid of that nail. We don't need that anymore. Next, I will admit, I kind of cheated on this. I went ahead and had a planer. That way I could get a flat side on one side of the boards. You can use a sander. It's just a little bit faster and it's easier to do it this way, especially with all the boards I got to cut. Next, we're going to take that table and we're going to find the middle. We're going to draw a line all the way down because that gives us a guide as we're placing the wood to make sure we're going in the right direction. First thing I did was make a little triangle. This is our starter piece. I'm going to take some wood glue and put it all the way on the back. The thing is, wood glue is stronger than you think. Go ahead and cover the whole back, and I marked and flipped it over. Again, like I said, this is the starter piece, so I'm going to clamp it down so it gets a good hold. Next, I'm going to take an old rough piece, turn it over, and glue down the sanded side. We want that rough looking side to face up. And here's the reason. I'm going for an old rustic look. So once I get this cut, I'm going to line it up. Now it's going to hang over the side of the table. Don't worry about that now. What we do want to line up is the joints on the top. See how those are lined up? And then I'm going to alternate some of the sanded side with the old rustic side. And we're going with different size pieces of wood. If you notice, this one's a little smaller, but it's really nice. It's got some gray in it, so I like that look. We're going to keep alternating all the way down the table and putting on pieces as we go. Once we get to the very end, we're going to put that last piece on and cover the corner. Next, we're going to take our saw and square up the sides. I used a guide to go ahead and use it on my saw. I want square sides all the way down. Once those sides are squared up, I'm going to put some trim pieces on. I use new wood for this instead of the old rustic stuff just to give it a nice look. I'm going to brad nail those in and glue them and give it a nice trim on the sides. These are about 3.5 inches wide. Once it's all glued up and dried, I'm going to use some clear polyurethane. Now, I went with a semi-gloss on this, but you can go with just a satin if you want. It looks a little messy, but trust me, you can't go wrong with polyurethane. Just put it on 4 coats. Once we get it all set up, look at this beautiful table. And the great thing is, not only is it beautiful, but it still folds up. That way I can fold it away and bring it out when guests arrive. It can be an extra place setting or a dessert table. I think it turned out absolutely amazing. And the great thing about it is I took old pallets that were free, an old table that was free, and just a labor of love to turn it into this beautiful work of art.
My tired old filing cabinet was in desperate need of a makeover. To start this project, I'm going to give the surface of the cabinet a quick sanding. I'm also going to give it a quick wipe down before the painting begins. I'm going to paint the cabinet with some creamy white chalk paint that I know will stick to metal. I've chosen this beautiful decoupage paper that I know will go perfectly with my decor. I'm going to line up the paper with the top of the drawer so that I have no issues getting it straight. To stick the paper in place, I'm going to brush on a layer of decoupage glue onto the top portion of the drawer and then lay on my paper. I want to be careful once the paper starts to absorb that glue, so I'm going to use my hands to flatten it out first, but then I'm going to use a wad of plastic wrap so that the paper doesn't get ripped. Now that I'm at the bottom of the top drawer, I want to slice off the rest of the paper so I can use it on the bottom drawer. I've adhered the paper to both drawers now and want to give it one final coat of the decoupage glue. This is just going to help to seal it in. I'm going to use a brush and brush on a thin layer all over the entire surface. Now that the paper is secured in place and the glue is all dry, I can use a sanding block to gently take off any excess. Once everything is off, I'll give it just a little light sanding to smooth it all out on the edges. In order to use the handles, I want to also remove the paper from those. To protect my new piece, I'm going to finish it all off with a coat of wax, and then I'll be ready to go. My filing cabinet looks incredible now, and it's as pretty as it is functional. I couldn't be more happy with this makeover. I hope this has inspired you to give your old filing cabinet a new look as well. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Home Talk. I'll see you next time.